Hi, everybody. Joe Buzzello here for SELSource.com and what we call SEL Radio, our video podcast. We have a great guest today. His name is Mike Maloney. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey, Joe. Doing great.
Good. And we're both here. I'm in my home office studio. I did some production this morning, some video production, and now this great podcast, and it's raining. The reason I have this jacket on is it's actually raining here in the Phoenix Valley. And Mike is right here in the Phoenix Valley also, so we'll talk about that. But Mike, you are the founder of the Wealth Store and Premier Estate Planning, both based right here in the Phoenix Valley. It's funny, we're right here about 20 minutes apart, and we only see each other, seems like just a few times a year, but we should see each other more often. And Mike is part of our Sell on Demand learning platform, and this is going to be a great 20 or 25 minutes. I have some great questions for you. I think you're a great character. You're a serial entrepreneur. I want you to go back first and tell us a little bit about the early part of your entrepreneurial career, how you got started, why you made the decision to get started. I know we have something in common. We both said, no paycheck, I'll create my own paycheck. You jumped in at age 19. I jumped into the sales and entrepreneurial ranks at age 18 and a half. So we've never had a paycheck. We have that in common. But how did that all get started?
Well, I think it all started when I was around 12. Okay? I'll start with the beginning. My father and I were partners. Okay? He's now retired. I bought him out 15 years ago. So he's the person that initially offered the opportunity in our business, which is both the insurance and the estate planning in short summary. Okay? But back when I was 12 years old, or maybe almost 13, that's when you start to get really more aware of a lot of more of adult issues versus children issues.
Yeah.
And I can remember my father. We lived in a nice home, and this was in Metro Detroit. And I can remember my father coming around the corner in his brand new Cadillac. And none of my buddies' fathers even looked like my father did. Okay? And I'd go to my buddy's house, maybe spend a night, and you could hear parents bickering just about how unhappy they were in their particular careers. And even hearing arguing about no matter how hard they worked, there was a limit on the money that they could earn. And in my household, that wasn't the conversation. In my household, the conversation was, do you want to be average or do you want to be something special? And of course, I want to be something special. Well, in order to be something special, you have to be willing to do the things that average people aren't willing to do. And in summary, my dad's basically the whole mantra was, if you want to get the things out of life that you want to get, you have to do the things that average people find uncomfortable. Okay? It's not necessarily that you find them comfortable, but you have to go through them in order to reach the objective you want to make. And back then in 1982, $100,000 was a tremendous amount of money.
Oh my God. That would seem like a fortune then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the point was, I was indoctrinated from an early age to be a reader. I mean, how many 10, 11-year-olds do you know are reading the newspaper? Yes, the newspaper. Okay? Cover to cover. Okay? That's where I was trained. I was trained not in the sporting world. I was trained not how to have to go to work from somebody. And the way that I was always told is, when you get a job with a firm, you work just hard enough to keep it, and they pay you just enough to keep you there.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's something that I learned, literally in my teens. Right? So I've always been conditioned not to go to work for anybody but my clientele. And today,
so essentially you were raised by Zig Ziglar. That's what it sounds like.
You know what? I was raised, my father, when he read Think and Grow Rich, I think he was 26, 7 years old. And that's a book that changes a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, the book changed my life. I write about that in my first book, The Cap Equation. I paid $3 for that book. The agency director challenged me to go buy it. I went and bought it. And 2 weeks later, he checked up on me. He said, have you purchased that book? I said, I'm on my second read through. I've got yellow highlights and I've got stuff circled. And books like that can change your life. But I started reading at age 18. You started reading at age 11 or 12.
Yeah, but the first time I went through Think and Grow Rich, I was 14. But I read it cover to cover in about 13 hours when I was 19. And the reason is that I was changing my life. I wasn't going to stay in college anymore and university. I was going to work. Okay.
And so at this time, so you were born in the Detroit area, the Motor City. And you were educated at Iowa State?
Yes.
Okay, so you're at Iowa State at this point in your life.
Yeah, it was December 1990, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
19 years old. And I knew that I wasn't happy, and I knew that I was going to go into the same business as my father. And I just said, what am I waiting for? I'm going to learn this career, not here at Iowa State. I'm going to learn the career by on-the-job training. So at 19, I started working with him, and what we were doing then and what we're still doing now is we were hired by financial advisors, tax professionals, and attorneys to conduct estate planning seminars. You could call them events today, but to conduct estate planning seminars for members of the general public. And at a young age, pre-20, I'm talking to 25 households, so 50 people, 3 times a day, 4 days a week. And I'm getting 80 to 100% of the attendees to ask the advisor that hired us, whether it was the attorney, accountant, or financial advisor, to ask those advisors for appointments. So the point is, I was very effective. But I want to back up what you were saying earlier. The reason I was is I have desire. Okay? I wasn't willing to let anything stand in front of me, including being 50 years younger than my audience, disseminating information, because the way I was disseminating it was as good as anybody was going to do it.
And that was 1980. You're 19 years old. Yes. You're standing in front of 40 and 50-year-old men and women.
Yeah, 60 and 70, yes, sir.
Asking them to sit down with CFPs and wealth advisors.
Yes.
Kind of intimidating.
Right. But the reality is, I had a lot of training. The other area that I was trained in, for anybody that's there's a school, they would at least be my age or older. There was a disinhibition school called Tiger School that was out of Chicago, Illinois. Mm-hmm. And essentially the whole school's purpose was to help people get that little person inside of you that's creating all the self-doubt and keeping you from doing everything you want.
Right.
Just becoming less inhibited, kind of like a Dale Carnegie on steroids.
Gotcha.
So I also had that advantage that I had gone through that training at a young age. Standing in front of a group of people never bothered me.
You know, it's interesting. The word resistance comes to mind. We all have these things that form a resistance. Most of the time it revolves around fear,
yes.
Or maybe lack of knowledge, which again can cause fear. But almost all of it goes back to fear. So you learned at a very young age how to first identify resistance, and then you learn methods to knock the resistance down. You never get rid of it completely. In fact, to this day, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to say something. I'm going to admit something, then I'm going to ask you a question. Still to this day, before I present products and services to people, I still get butterflies in my tummy. Do you still get butterflies?
Well, I have to use the bathroom 3 times.
So we still get nervous today.
A little nervous. You know, we know what it is. When you're experienced like we are, the butterflies are, we want to deliver a great message.
Yeah.
That's, you know, we're not nervous about delivering the message. We want to make an impact.
We want it to be perfect.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do want it to be perfect. And, you know, some days you feel it. Some days you're like, man, I impressed myself. Days you're just kind of like, you know. And it's kind of funny. Some days, the way when you feel you impressed yourself, sometimes the results you get from the delivery aren't as good as when you said,
Yeah.
But the point is, yes, I still get butterflies.
So at some point in time, I think it was about 26, 27 years ago, your happy rear end made it out to this godforsaken desert, the Phoenix Valley. How did that happen?
Well, it's a bittersweet thing. My parents divorced.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And like a lot of people, as you've met, a lot of people move out west to just, my father's phrase was, I'm unhappy as hell now, but it won't last forever. And when I get happy again, at least I'll be in a place that I love. Because Des Moines, Iowa, great people, but they've got about 10 weeks of good weather, and it isn't in a row.
So
and this time of year, when I call my buddies, they just, they'll pick up the phone and they'll say Maloney, and they'll give me some choice words and just hang up.
And we complained, by the way. See, we had a little rain yesterday, today. I think it's going to clear up tomorrow. I've got an afternoon round of golf scheduled tomorrow, but we complain when there's 2.5 days of rain here, and that happens once every quarter.
That is correct. That is correct.
So, your journey out here. So you come out here now. Are you in the same business out here, or do you reinvent yourself here?
Same business.
Okay.
Same business. Never switched. Still doing the same work today.
Gotcha. But what is I know you have a passion. I want you to talk about your passion. Talk to me about what has your attention now, what gives you energy when you wake up in the morning, because you kind of have a business within a business there.
I do. And the estate planning is always weaved into my financial services business. I've got all the licenses, and for a number of years, full service financial advisor, not financial planning with budgets, but financial advising. Okay. And mostly financial advising is investment improvement when you're dealing with a prospect. You create a relationship, you gain trust, they give you data, and essentially after you analyze the data, wherever you can improve their situation, that's what you recommend. But the reason a lot of people hire me isn't so much the expertise in the financial services world, it's my estate planning background, which is control. And by the way, the estate planning background is an issue that most advisors, they dabble, but it's not something that they've made their forte, because it's not an area they generate revenue in.
Okay.
So they don't address those issues. Okay. My opinion is, if you're going to do financial advising, you also have to address the control of the money in addition to the management of the money.
Absolutely.
So up until maybe 4 years ago, I'm dealing with solely retirees and dealing with their estate planning and their investments. Well, in our industry, there's a push for fees. There's a push to get out of the transactional business into management fees, paying year after year after year. Okay. And I'm going to give you my opinion. The clients don't. Who likes it are the industry folks, because it's giving them basically a more predictable more predictable track of revenue coming in when there's fees off of portfolios annually. Okay.
Yep.
Now they've rationalized it that when you're charging fees, the advisor's more objective, because it doesn't matter what you buy, the fee is the same. Okay. Well, the reality is, if we're supposed to be a buy and hold type of investment philosophy, which was how I was trained 30 years ago, everything was buy and hold. Don't miss the best days of the market. That's why you got to stay in it all the times, right? Fast forward to the dot-com bubble and the Great Recession, our entire industry changed its message from passive management to tactical, because you should have people pulling the triggers to help you not ride down the market all the way. Okay. The short of it is, there's fee compression. There's not a lot of appreciation when your investments do well with clients. But I'll tell you what, you get all the credit as the advisor when the market goes down. Okay. You do. You get all the credit. You get very little credit for picking the good stuff, and all the credit if they don't perform the way that you want them to. Yeah,
you get dumped on when they're catching a falling knife and you get dumped on.
Correct. And what I've always, I'm coming to the point here. What I've always really loved about the financial services industry is I love the guarantee and protection world. I like, or what I would call foundation planning. Okay. And foundation planning, it isn't sexy, but it is absolutely necessary. Okay. And I'll just give you a 30-second analogy. If I was anybody's realtor that's on the call and we did a little interview and I figure out what your dream home is, and on the second home I pull you up in front of, in your mind's eye, you go, man, this guy Maloney's great. That's exactly the home I've envisioned. And again, when we walk inside the home, the flow of the home is perfect. All of the rooms are designed the way you want it, down to the hardware on the kitchen cabinets. It's so perfect. And then I can notice, we're going to say you're married. I noticed that you and your wife are real excited about the home. And then I got to break some news. I got to say, you know, Joe and Beth, I can see you love this home, but the thing that's wrong with this house is the foundation is horribly cracked. I'm telling you right now, you're not buying the house unless we're giving it away. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm transitioning, not leaving, but transitioning more of my focus to helping people have a secure retirement versus already dealing with the retiree that has a pile of money and needs to know how not to make it run out before they do.
Yeah, they're in conservation mode.
That's correct. And one of the things we're doing now with the Wealth Store is we're helping a client feel 100% certain about having a great retirement. Just when I say that phrase, most people are not 100% certain about having a great retirement. They'll tell you it's because they haven't saved enough money. In reality, they have too much debt service. They're loaded with debt. So we've got a process that we show the client how to pay off and not consolidate for a fee, but pay off all of their debt, less than 9 years, including the mortgage and if they're business owners, business debt. And the sweet thing is, the client does it without spending any more money than they spend right now. Okay? And the age bracket of folks that I'm dealing with are usually 35 to about 60. Okay? And we're changing people's lives because helping them get out of debt, an advisor can't show them how to save enough money to do it. You need a different strategy to help them become debt-free. And our strategy is verifiable in written reports, and we're even better in most cases than people sending extra money to pay down the debt quicker. Okay? It's a really neat process. Okay? The other area I'm focused on, okay, is in the estate planning world. The problem with estate planning is that, are those two words, estate planning. People think that you need to have money for estate planning. And the reality is, once you're 18 years old, if you lose the ability to manage your affairs, unless there's legal documents in place providing succession, nobody else can do it for you. So when I'm out prospecting, I have elevator speeches. Okay? And I'm not ashamed to say this, I fought elevator speeches forever, and I was 100% wrong. Okay? 100% wrong. Because if I'm out networking and you ask me what I do, and if I say I'm a financial advisor and do estate planning, nobody really wants to talk to you. It's not engaging. Okay? It's easy to say I've got that stuff or not now or whatever. But if I've got a little story and I gave you a little bit of the elevator speech for the debt piece, which is we're helping people be really certain about retirement because we've got a process to show them how to pay off all their debt in 9 years or less, including the mortgage, without spending any more money than they spend right now. Okay? My other piece, when I talk about estate planning, I'll simply say, in your own mind, I want you to just to think about something. And the reason I say in their own mind is I'm giving them relief from having to answer a salesman. Okay? Regardless of whatever title you want to call yourself, financial advisor, financial planner, CFP, etc. To the public, and there's everything right about that because we do change people's lives. Good salespeople change people's lives for the better. So here's how I describe estate planning. I say to you, Joe, just in your head, I want you to think about something. Something bad has happened. You've gotten into an accident or sick. Either way, you can't make decisions for yourself anymore. So, number one, who do you want to make decisions for you now that you can't? 2, did you put it in a legal document? Lastly, did you put this legal document on file with all the firms you do your financial business with? Now, here's what I know about majority of people, especially if they're under 65. They don't have any documents, okay? But they all know who they want to handle their affairs. So if there's no documents in place, how does the person that's handling their affairs take over? I got 30 more seconds on this. The way they have to take over is they have to get paperwork. And how they get paperwork is by hiring an attorney and taking the incapacitated person's affairs through a court process that generates the paperwork for that person that you want to handle your affairs to give to your financial institution, so they release the money to somebody else other than the incapacitated. So the summary of estate planning is, Joe, that it's all about having the right legal documents in place, and more importantly, on file with the firms you do your money business with, so they are relieved of their liability for following somebody else's instructions other than yours. People spend too much time thinking about the government and taxes with estate planning, and for the majority of people, those issues have nothing to do with them. What does have to do with them is control when they can't make decisions. And the summary is, you either take the time and do documents while you're competent and you let your financial institutions know what your wishes are, or when you're gone or incapacitated, an attorney's going to take your affairs through a court process to produce the same paperwork to release the money. But when I say get an attorney involved, and this is factual, not criticism, you never think hundreds of dollars of fees when you hire an attorney, do you? You think thousands.
Thousands.
And waiting to do something is 10 to 20 times as much as doing it ahead of time.
Yeah, it blows me away how many people die intestate without a will or the proper trust. I saw a document mentioned recently.
Look at Prince and Aretha Franklin.
Yep.
Prince and Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, it just blows me away. So you are building a sales and service force around this
those
concept
two items
that you teach and you do. So who is the persona person, real quick, for 30 seconds, who's the persona person that is coming to you, the agent or rep, that is taking your concept and going out in the field and creating additional income streams with it?
Well, some of the agents that are coming to me are the ones that are having difficulty establishing new clientele, because what are we in the 11th year of a bull market? People are reactive. They aren't going to make any strategic changes until the market corrects 30%.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We're trying to get them to make changes now, and nobody is. Okay. With younger clientele, Joe, when you're approaching people to how to save money, they can easily give you the Heisman. Okay. I don't have any money. However, Joe, when we're approaching people how to pay off their debt in 9 years or less, including their mortgage, guess what? People want to see the details.
You at least have their attention. They
Correct.
Are at least curious. You can get an audience with them.
That is correct. And what I feel really strong about, Joe, is unlike the securities world where there aren't any guarantees, our debt paying off process is all based on guarantees. It's certain to happen. Right? In other words, if I'm talking to you about investing, hey, the performance of this return is 900% a year. Except when we take over, you lose 30 points the first year we're doing business. Okay, it's just we're selling the sizzle to a starving crowd. Okay, most people are in debt and they're dying for a program to get out of it. Okay, when I talked about how long I've been in business, Joe, when I first started 30 years ago, that was the World War II generation. They did not have debt, Joe. Okay? Debt was a true four-letter word. It was embarrassing for them to have debt.
Yeah, my parents didn't have any debt. The roof over their
no debt.
Roof over their heads was paid for. Cars were paid for.
Paid for. Today, over 60% of retirees are carrying debt in retirement. 60. That's not a good thing. Okay? Having debt versus being debt-free. If we're given a choice, I know what everybody takes: debt-free. Right? So I want to get the people early enough to show them that strategy, because the quicker I get them out of debt, it's an absolute certainty that they stack up more money for retirement. Okay? And I'll give you a little tidbit, and just our little example of an average American couple in their mid to late 30s, household income's $80,000 a year, total household debt's $180,000. Okay. Their structure without us, they're going to have about $400,000 in a 401k for retirement. us getting them out of debt, rather than their plan in 30 years, we get them out of debt in just under 8. We help them accumulate over $1 million.
Oh, absolutely. You put them on the right path. We have about 2 or 3 minutes. So before I forget, right now, there might be some people out there that say, well, I want to know more about the concept, or I want to represent the concept and they're properly licensed. If someone wants to get a hold of you, either of those 2 categories of people, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, they should email me at mmaloney, that's MMALONEY, at TWS, The Wealth Store is what it stands for, TWSfinancial.com, or give me a call, 480-797-7843, and I will take the time with those that are interested and bring them through the entire process and show them all of the details of both of our foundation strategies.
Fantastic. I have 3 rapid fire questions. So this is our lightning round. So I have 3 questions that I didn't really prepare you for, but I'm going to hit you with them. First and foremost, you're a great salesperson because your passion comes through, your energy is on high. Every time I talk to you, your energy is on high. That's what I love about
This is
you.
me. This is me.
You're a crazy Irishman. I love you. So
this is me.
I know. This is what you. Hey, if you're watching out there, what you see is what you get with this guy.
100%.
So, real quickly, in under 30 seconds, your sales style. How would you describe your sales style?
Direct consultative. I ask a lot of questions, but if I have to use a 2x4, okay, which means letting a person know that they're 100% wrong very tactfully. Okay, a lot of advisors are scared to tell their prospects they're not right. Well, I'm not a yes man, and I'm hoping that people that hire me aren't hiring me to be a yes man. They're hiring me to help them, put them in a better position than they were now. Right? But I'm very conscious, all the great sales training of the questions that I'm asking, and really making sure that the client is talking more than I am. Okay? So it's consultative. All righty.
But the key is you're not afraid. You've got the guts, and you know what I mean when I'm holding this up. You've got the guts. You've got the stones to challenge someone, which I love.
I do.
Okay, second question. How would you describe your leadership style? You lead people. You've built 2 great businesses, very profitable businesses, very successful businesses. Leadership style.
I'm a trench general. I don't just tell people what to do. I show them what to do, including going on their calls.
So you know the way, you go the way, and you show the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I'm getting older now, but it reminds me of, I forget what Roosevelt it was. It could have been Teddy Roosevelt's nephew or something. He was on the D-Day landing, bringing troops ashore at 54 years of age with a cane. Right? He was leading his men.
Yeah.
You know? He knew without great leadership, they weren't breaking through.
So you love going out in the field, even as a founder and CEO of 2 great companies, you love going out in the field and showing the way.
I'm going to help. Yes. And the reason I do is because my advisor that I'm working with, they have the direct connection with the clientele. So all the direct service and questions don't come to me. They go through the advisor.
Yeah. You're not stupid.
Okay.
You're not stupid. One last question, Michael. And this is a doozy, but I'm going to ask you to answer it again. This is our lightning round under 30 seconds. If you could go back in time, if you could get in the DeLorean and go back and visit your younger entrepreneurial self, so we're talking about a decade or 2 or more, what advice would you give to your younger entrepreneurial Mike Maloney self?
Early on, I was trying to be all things to everybody. I said yes to too many things.
Expand on that.
Well,
so you would take on almost any opportunity, whatever someone asked you to do. The answer was yes.
No, just because I thought it was going to benefit me in establishing a better relationship and all that other good stuff. Okay, even if I wasn't going to be profitable. Okay, I just would have rather said no to more people, no to doing favors. Okay. Because through my whole life, every time I've been a yes man, the only guy that ends up on the negative side of the equation was me. everybody got what they wanted and never came through with their side. So I just have an agenda now that I know the services and the assistance that I can provide. And I do my best to help an advisor fit our processes into their practice. But the reality is they've got to want it more than me. Right? I can't want anything that I do more than anybody else. So rather than me trying to raise the dead and convince a lot of people that they ought to be doing this, right? After I'm spending time with a new advisor, when I say spending time, maybe 3 visits of training, if they haven't started to implement what I've been teaching, I want to find out why. And if that reason isn't very good, then I just transition them from taking any more of my time. Because for as long as I've been in the business, I need to run with people with similar energy. They got to have similar desire and passion to help solve the issues that I briefly shared on our call here. And if it isn't something that they want to do, I just tell them this isn't for you, or that you don't want it. And if in the future a limited situation should come up, I'll be happy to help you. And Joe, you know when I say that, that limited situation never comes up.
Yeah, so you don't suffer fools anymore. You don't waste a lot of time outside of your lane. You stay in your core competency. You know, just like Chick-fil-A, you know what your chicken sandwich is.
Yes.
And you stay right there. And you do a great job.
And when you order a burger at Chick-fil-A, I'm not going to give you a burger by running across the street to Burger King.
Gotcha.
Okay.
We're going to leave it at that. One more time, your email address.
Maloney, MMALONEY at twsfinancial.com. Phone 480-797-7843. And anybody nationwide's welcome to talk to me because what I do works in every state.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You do have a scalable business, a national business. I've taken a few nuggets out of this. This has been fun. I knew it would be fun. You're a person of character, but you're also a great character. So we're going to sign off.
I got a young Rodney Dangerfield look.
You do. and I know you're a good salesman because you're not that good looking, but you have a gorgeous wife. So say hello to her for me. No, I'm kidding you. You are a good looking guy. And thank you so much, Mike, for being on the video podcast, SellSource Radio. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me.
And with that, we'll sign off. Joe Buzzello for sellsource.com and SellSource Radio. If you haven't been over to sellsource.com, go over there. There's a lot of free stuff that's good. And also the Sell on Demand platform. Mike is part of that platform as well. We push out great stuff weekly.
I would like to say this, and it's not just because you're on the call, Joe. The reason that I've subscribed to your services and read all your books is, quite frankly, I can only learn from people who are better than me. And take that as a compliment. Your books and your information that you share, I've been around this industry a long gosh darn time, and your teaching is spot on. Spot on.
Well, I appreciate that. You know what? Thank you. I'll accept that compliment coming from a talented guy. And
please do.
That's where we'll end it.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Thank you, Mike, and everyone out there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on SellSource Radio. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.